sense of where everyone's level is at. What is, like, could you tell me if you have experience with HTML and CSS already? Okay, not really? All right, then that's good, because that determines how advanced I go. So you said you already have experience with HTML and CSS?
A little bit.
Okay, we can do a little bit of setup with React if you would like to do that near the end.
Okay, yeah.
But we'll probably go through HTML and CSS for the most part today. Just basic web dev. All right. So just give me 1 minute to get started. Maybe give everyone a minute to get here as well. Just pull up any text editor. Like it could be Notepad or something like that. It doesn't matter. Any text editor. Is there a sign-in for this meeting?
Okay, I haven't learned about it.
Come on in. Welcome. So you guys are all participating in the hackathon? Consider it. You should. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'll be a mentor there, so there to help. Okay. All right. I guess we can get started then. Or do you want to give it another minute, or? All right. Just pull up any text editor. It doesn't matter. I have Sublime pulled up. Does not matter. Any VS Code or Notepad or Notepad++ or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just whatever you can write text on. So actually, let me check. What text editors are you guys using? You all have VS Code? Okay, then that's fine. Okay. So just create a new file, title it index.html. So I'm going to save this. Save it in. I'll just save it in downloads for now. Save it as index.html. It'll automatically let your code editor notice or like know that this is an HTML file. Okay. All right. So I guess let's go ahead and get started. So today we are going to be making a little mini website of our own. So if you have no experience with HTML and CSS, this will give you the bare bones. The rest you can learn by Googling. You can do a lot of this during the hackathon itself. I personally think websites are a really good thing to make during hackathons because they're so simple. It doesn't take a lot. You don't need to set up any servers or fancy things like that. It's very easy to learn. Plus, it's very front-end heavy. And in a hackathon, generally, you want to focus a little more on the front end and your concept rather than the back end because the front end is what you're going to be showing in your really short presentation. Okay, I think I've already shown some of you, but I can show you guys what I did for the Wix Hacks. It was a website where it was just plain HTML, but with some JavaScript. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to be creating an HTML document. So this is HTML, it's hypertext markup language. You use this to essentially say what elements are going to be on the screen. So what elements do you want on your web page? And then CSS is what you use in order to style those to make them look nice, to actually give them things like color and stuff like that. So we're going to start with HTML. First, we're going to create a little, just a little bit of thing from metadata. Just copy exactly what I put in. Doc type HTML. That's just to indicate that this is an HTML doc. And then we're going to create some opening and closing HTML tags. Some of your code editors will create it automatically, as you can see mine did. So these are tags. If you haven't seen them before, you basically say, yeah. Oh, whoops. I will do that. Share screen. Wait, good. Thank you. Okay. All right. So these are tags, as you can see here. You have your opening tag, and then the closing tag always has a slash and then the name of the tag. You put whatever you want in there. So this is saying, we're saying inside here is all HTML. Welcome, welcome, come on in. Just pull up any text editor of choice and just copy what's on the screen right now. Okay. So in an HTML document, you're going to have a head and a body. So you need your opening and closing tags for that. See, we have head in here. Head is where metadata goes. So this is stuff that doesn't actually show up on the web page itself. And then we have body, which is where like the stuff that actually shows up on the web page itself goes. So let's just show you an example of what we're going to do here. For ignore the head for now. Inside body, let's put in some text. Save it. And now what you're going to do is, welcome, come on in, pull up any text editor of choice and just copy what's on the screen. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I am going to drag a window into here. I'm essentially going to say, or it doesn't really matter. You can just, I'm just saying file, open this up. There you go. There's your web page. You have Hello World in your browser. Yes. So you don't even need to open your browser technically. Let me open my file explorer. I think most of you are on Macs. So here's my file explorer, index.html. Open it and it automatically opens a web page. So this right here at the top, you can see it's just your file, but it's opening it in the web browser, and then you can see what's going on here. Like what this hello world is what we put into this body right here. Hello, welcome. If you want to follow along, just type this up into your browser. Okay, so we put hello world into the body. Technically, if you want just, you don't, like you can open text files in the browser. So I could have just created a text file that said hello world and opened it and it would have shown up. So like just this without any of the tags, that is, but that's not what we're doing here. So now that's what the body does. It should put stuff into the web page itself. Let me show you what head does real quick. So in head, we put metadata here. We link to styles, like where we wrote our CSS code, for example. If we want to import fonts in, we would do that here. But now we're going to create a title tag. So title is the name of the web page. So we can call this. And then if I switch tabs, reload, you can see up here, it changed to say my website. Makes sense? So the title here changes that, like the little text here. You can change the icon as well. You do that with a favicon. We're not going to do that here, but it's just Google. It's a favicon. You just import in an image. You do that in the head. All right. So let's go a little more into the body. So we're going to get rid of this. Well, actually, first, are there any questions? Anyone having difficulty following along? Good? Okay. Anyone want me to speed up? Or is this a good pace? We good? Okay. All right, so let's go a little more into the body. Let's do some more tags, basically. So let's create a header. So this is an H1. There are tags from H1 through 6. These are just different levels of heading. So let's say I create an H1 and then I'm going to create an H2. Let's see what that looks like. Refresh the page. Here's your bold heading, and then heading 1, heading 2. Every browser by default will apply some styling to it. You can see it's bold, it's like a certain size. You can change all of that. It doesn't have to be like that. This is just what Google Chrome, the browser I'm using, is recognizing as an H1. So then you can later on go back and say, I want all headers to look completely different. I want them to all to be like this color or something like that, and you can do that. So we got our headers. Now next we're gonna create, I'm just gonna go through a few really basic tags, and then the rest you can just find out on your own later. So next is P. P is for paragraph. This is for text, just like normal text. Put something there. Go back, save it, refresh. You have your default paragraph text. So that's how you put elements on a web page. Let's go through a few more tags. So we have H1 and then H2, and it goes up to 6, H3, H4, H5, H6. Then we have P for paragraph. Let's do, let's do a link next. So link is for, a link is, for a link you do an A tag. I believe A is for anchor, but correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, and we're gonna say href. Href refers to what URL our link is gonna go to. We say equals, quotes, and then find your favorite URL. I'm going to be boring and just do google.com. So we got Google, and then we're gonna close this opening tag. So if you notice, this href is all inside the tag itself, like inside this opening tag, like your angle brackets. So then we close the angle brackets. Then we have our link text. So we don't want just this text to show up. Sometimes we want something else. And then we close our tag. So this, what goes in between the opening and closing tag is the link text. This is the link itself. You state that in the tag. So I'll refresh, there's the link. Open it, it goes to Google. It doesn't automatically open in a new tab. I just did that, but you can set that. I think it's like target equals blank. It's not important. Okay. Any questions? Good? All right, let's do some more tags. IMG. Any guesses what this is? Images, yes. Image source. We're gonna find, you can do images that are like locally stored on your computer, but we're gonna start with just look up an image on Google. I'm gonna look up cat. Well, actually, hold on. Cat picture. Copy link address. Image source, put it in there. Look at that long link. Got our image source, and then we close that opening tag. Save. Refresh. And the link doesn't like it. What did I do? Close this, I did. That should be it. Oh, because I didn't copy the image link. I said copy link address, not copy image address. Sorry. Got that. There we go. Okay. Try this again. There we go. This is a self-closing tag. So some tags you don't really need, so you don't need both the opening and closing tag. For example, if I want to add like a line break, BR is a self-closing tag. So I can just add this slash inside it and it'll make a line break. There's like a space here now. Okay, so we can set width and height in CSS, but let's do a little bit here because this is enormous, even though it is cute. Okay, so here within the tag, before the ending of the tag, we are going to put in, let's make the width equal to, let's say 50%. And then height, also 50% in quotes. So we can give it attributes here, like inline in the HTML. Normally you do this in CSS, but like just for this image, we can do it here. So I put in the width and the height. Reload. Did it make it smaller? It did not. going on here? There we go. Okay. Sometimes the percentage just doesn't like you. I can put 50%. It should work. Let me try something smaller. There we go. Okay. I don't know why it wasn't working. Okay. Yeah, it's possible. Is this 20% of the page? It's not though. Or is it? Maybe, approximately. What if I make it 100%? Yeah, you're right. This width tells you it's the width, the percentage is the percentage of the whole page. So if you want it to be 50% of the original, you would have to like, you can just set it manually. So I can do 200 pixels, for example. And then get there.
How would you like wrap the link?
What do you mean?
Like the link right now is like very long on mine, but I want to have it like
This line right here?
yeah. If I hit enter, it breaks my image.
VS Code should have word wrap. Like you can enable it.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't actually wrap the line. It's just like it just wraps based on it just shows you what it is. VS Code, I believe, has it. It's in like view or something like that, or just something like that.
Thank you.
This is Sublime. I have it turned on by default. Okay. With me so far? All right. Okay. I think we can stop on the HTML for now. Let's go ahead and do some CSS. So file, open a new file. Save this in the same directory, call it styles.css. Make sure it's in the same place as your original. You can save it in different directories, but we're not going to deal with that right now. So create a new file, call it styles.css. So now we're going to be styling what we've put on the screen. And then in the end, I can show you how to like import cool fonts and colors and stuff. Okay. So now we're going to go back to our HTML. Once you create that, in our head, we're going to import the style sheet. So we're going to call this link rel equals, in quotes, style sheet. So we're saying this is the style sheet. And we're going to say href equals, href you see we used previously for links here. We're going to use it now for a file. So just call it styles.css. It's in the same directory, so it doesn't, you can just put in the file name. Close it. Oops, close it. Like that. It doesn't need a closing tag. So once you link that, we won't know for sure until we try something. So, okay. All right, so we've linked it. We're going to go back to styles.css. Let's do some styling. H1, open close brackets. This means that this is the styling for like the formatting for CSS. I forgot to mention, if you want comments in HTML, it's like this. It's like an open angle bracket, an exclamation point, and 2 dashes, and then the closing comment is like 2 dashes and then a closing angle bracket. Welcome. I noticed someone just dropped in online. Just open up your text editor of choice and try your best to follow along. Okay. Save. Let's go back to styles.css. So if I say H1, this is like basically the style rule, and then what I'm going to do inside the brackets is the styling I want to give it. So when I say H1, I'm saying style every single H1 on this HTML page. Every H1 that it sees, it's going to style it. If you want to style specific H1s but not others, you use classes and IDs for that. We're probably not going to get to that today. We'll see. Okay. Here we have H1. Let's do something funny or fun anyway. Fonts, let's set, like, there are basically different rules you can set. So you probably notice the autofill is already like has a whole bunch of properties. So these are like default CSS properties. So these are properties that are recognized by browsers. Good browsers anyway. If you're using Internet Explorer, you should just leave this room. All right. So
so font weight is one of them. So that's whether you want it to make it bold or not bold. So it's already bold. Let's not do font weight. Let's do font size. Font size, let's say I want to make it 80 pixels. And then semicolon at the end. Let's say I want to make the color. There's some default colors that it understands, but you can also pass in hex codes into this. Say color red. Here, I'm just giving you some sample properties. If you want to do something, you're like, I want to get it centered or I want to move it down or something like that, just Google it. It's very well documented. Let's say text align, center. Okay. All right, moment of truth. All right, that is in your face. Okay, Newcomer, if you just want to pull up, if you want to follow along, just pull up your favorite text editor and try your best to follow along. Okay. Did anyone have issues with that? Linking the style sheet? Did it work for everyone? No problems? All right. Okay. All right, so I guess next we can move on to some, let me show you some more CSS rules that you can do. Okay, let's say now I want to make a cool background color. Let's do body. I want to color the entire body, which is the entire web page. The style rule for this is background dash color. Let's say pink. Wow. I could send this to a UI competition right now. It's just, look at that hot website. All right, so that's how you send background. You just set rules. So basically you just find the elements on this page. You link to those elements by saying, hey, here's a P, I want to style those Ps. Give it semicolon, like, I mean, not semicolons, curly braces, put your rule inside it. Okay, I realized I did have classes and IDs planned for today, so lucky you, we get to do classes and IDs. So let's say I have 2 P tags. Okay, so for the sake of argument, I don't want to style both of them. I just want to style one. So what I'm going to do here is do ID equals, let's call this toStyle. This is the one, oops, cancel. Okay, this is the one I want to style, this particular one. So I gave it an ID. This is now, it has an identifier, so I can pull it out in my CSS. Tell me whenever you want me to stop and like pause or go back to a screen or something like that. Okay, so I've added an ID to my P. It's inside the opening tag. We're going to go back to our styles.css. And then let's style it. So to do this, you use pound. I called it toStyle. So you use this symbol to identify things to get things by ID, if you have a unique ID. So here's an ID. So let's say color. This changes the text color. Green. Let me just check that it works. It does. Okay. So to recap, what we did is we added an ID to our P. We went to styles. We added our rule where we selected the specific ID, gave it our specific styling, and it styled just that one and not the other one. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to cover one last thing and then I'll just let you guys loose to like experiment on your own. Okay. All right, so another thing you can do here is default fonts are boring and awful. So let's go to Google Fonts. So Google has very many fonts that you can just import into your webpage really easily. So pick a cool looking font, any font. There are so many. What's a nice header font? Header. I guess. Very. I like that one. Let's do this one. This one's not a header font, but it's fine. Okay. So go to Google Fonts. I'll give you guys a second. Pick a font, any font, doesn't matter. Anyone need more time? Good. Okay. Pick your font, click select the style. Some of them have like bold and other styles. Just pick one. It doesn't really matter for now. You can have more if you want like bold versions. Okay. So once you click select the style, this little pop-up comes up here and it shows you immediately how to use on the web, how to embed a font. It says to embed it, copy and paste, copy the code into the head of your HTML. So just copy everything in here exactly as it is. Go to your HTML, go to your head, paste it. Oop. Why are you? Just all we did is we select the style, copied this right here, pasted it. Now what we can do is, and then it has a CSS rule, how you set the CSS. So let's copy the CSS. Go to our CSS. Let's make the H1 this pretty font. Put it in our H1. So I'll go back to that in a sec, but just want to check that it works. Oh, it works. And now the font is different. To recap, we just, on Google Fonts, we got the HTML, put it into our head. The CSS, we put that into our CSS rule, whichever one we wanted. And you can use this. You can change anything to this font. So I just made it our H1 for now. So that's how you import cute fonts. Although it doesn't look that good here. Whatever. Okay. Last thing that might be fun is if you're designing for a hackathon, especially if you're designing a website for like a business or something like that, you can go to Google Maps. Let's get the GDC. There's ye olde GDC. Okay, so we go to Google Maps. This is how to embed a map into your. So if I want to go to like just put in a map of like a location, you go to Google Maps, find your location, doesn't matter, click share, go to embed a map, copy HTML. Go back to your code, go to your HTML, put it at the bottom of our page. This puts in an iframe. That's just your map. So then I can go back to my website, reload. Oh, wow, look at that. And then I can actually, it's like interactive too. You can zoom in, zoom out, see the area. It embeds a map into your thing. You can embed YouTube videos and PDF viewers, lots of things, depending on what you're doing. Yeah.
Whenever we're embedding a map, you know how if you like go on your phone and there's like a category, it's like only shows restaurants.
Yeah.
Embed a map that only shows like that specific location.
That level of specificity you need to use Google Maps' API for. So Google Maps has a very extensive API actually, where you can essentially set all kinds of, like restrictions on your map and like do all kinds of like fancy things where it'll allow them to search as you're pulling up the map. But you need to use their API for it, which requires that you like, they charge a fee normally based on the number of requests, like how many times people use your map. It's not a lot. For a hackathon, they give you $300 of free credit a month, I believe. Like Google automatically gives you that. For a hackathon, that should be more than enough. The last hackathon, I spent like $6 on the Google Maps API, and that was like just through the free credits. I didn't end up spending anything of my own. So you can definitely do that. I would absolutely recommend using one of the Google APIs because they're just, you can do some fancy stuff. I'll show you actually an example of what I did last. Okay, everyone clear on that? Real quick?
That was in our body, right?
Yes. Body is for stuff that shows up on the screen. Okay. Everyone cool? All right, in that case, give me a second to find the video. My laptop ran out of space, so I promptly deleted the code for that project, but I think it's relevant. Well, I deleted it off my laptop. It's still on GitHub. Okay. All right. Let me show you an example of this. Is what I did for a few of you have already seen this. This is what this was my project for Wix Hacks. This is just straight up a web page. There's nothing fancy at all about it. It's just a web page that has some JavaScript. So what it does is it's meant to essentially show you traffic cam data. So it draws like it goes through to the city of Austin, and they publicly publish all traffic camera data. They have it on this like really janky website, and they have an API. So what I did is I just created a simple, like wrote some simple JavaScript code to get traffic data along the route we were like someone plans on traveling, so they could see it to see if there's any ice on the road on cold days. So here you just have some weather forecasts. These are weather widgets, literally just plain old embedding like we did for the maps. This right here is actually like an embedding of a different tool that actually visualizes like all the different traffic cameras and whether they're working or not. That shows up in either green or red, like if the traffic cameras are working, if they're not. And their locations, again, just straight up embedding. Let's go ahead. Okay, and then here's where the Google Maps API comes in. And I'm showing you this because of that. So Google Maps has a Places API where that lets you do autofill. So as you can see, I can put in this just and it autofills. So I can find locations like that. So that's one thing that's useful. And then once I do check route, Google Maps API gives you directions on this side. Like I just use it to show the directions. It should show the map, but I couldn't get that working in time. So sorry. And then this is like a list of, this shows you a bunch of like traffic cam data for like the path that I put in. And again, styled with just normal CSS. I actually did a bad thing because we were on such a time. It was like a 12-hour hackathon, which is the same as what this one's going to be. All of the CSS, HTML, and JavaScript were all in the same file. It was a very long file. It was awful. Don't do that. Keep them separate. Yeah, we're going to need to clean that up before we show that to anyone. But yeah, that was our project. That's what you can use the Google Maps API for. Lots of things. All right. No, there are actually lots of, that's a good point. There are actually lots of HTML templates out there. Okay, you can find like Bootstrap templates and stuff. So there are a lot of like templates you can download. So this is like, you have a website that looks really nice, and then you click on something, and then you can just like download the HTML code for this, like the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for this. And then it's just a matter of changing out the text. It's not very complicated. If you want to put your website on the web, right now it just lives on your computer, you have to use a hosting service. The main ones that I think are the easiest to use are Heroku and Google Firebase. So Firebase also allows you to have like a backend, like it allows you to have a database without having to set up a backend. You just make simple JSON requests to it. Like it's simple, not JSON, right? HTTP requests to it. Okay. That's if you want to put it on the website on the internet. If you like want your audience to see it like on their phones or something like that. For this hackathon, I don't think you'll really need to do that. You can just have it working locally and then take a screen capture. Any other questions? Yeah.
You go over having multiple pages instead of like just one static page.
That's not too bad at all. Okay, so file, new file. Wait, save it. We're gonna do the same directory again. Just call it. Okay, I'm just gonna copy paste this into page 2.html. But I'm gonna delete something so it's obvious that this is the second page. Okay, so all I did right here is I created a new file called page2.html, copy pasted the code from there, and then took out pretty much everything from the body and replaced the header so it's obvious that this is a second page. Because the styling is still the same, it's linked to the same style sheet. Okay. Everyone with me? All right, so once you do that, you can go back to your initial web page. And then what we do is we add a link. And you just set it to, I believe that should do the trick. Okay. Right, so just create a link, I believe href page2.html. I think that should do the trick. I have not tested this, so let's try it. Works. Yeah, so that's all you do that's all you have to do. Just have another HTML file to link to it. Just give it the path for a second page. You can do this to add like nav bars and things. Yeah, with the time period of a hackathon, I would recommend that you use a template. Those have already nav bars, but they won't link to anything. So what you do is you take the template, you duplicate it, and then link them together. So then you can get it looking nice really quick, because doing this from scratch is very difficult. In fact, you definitely should not be writing CSS from scratch. There are lots of like templates and things like that. There are lots of frameworks that'll help you. Bootstrap is good for CSS. And you can also, there are also like UI libraries like Material, which is one that Google has. All right, does that answer your question? Good. Okay, anyone else? Okay, well, that is, I think, covers the basics. Now I want you guys to actually spend the next like 15-ish minutes changing your website as much as you please, because experimenting is the best way to figure something out. So make your website the most ridiculous website you can possibly imagine. Put crazy colors on there, make it all neon Comic Sans. Spend some time trying to figure out how to put things like maybe try to experiment with the table or something like that. I will be walking around telling you how to do things if you want help with that. But other than that, go wild. At the end, if we have time, let's see if we can share our websites. All right. It doesn't have like literal text to display. Stuff that goes in between the tabs is generally stuff that shows up on the screen. But showing that the source for it, so there's nothing else. So yeah, that one's a self-loading tab. A lot of this is just those are input tabs. Input. And then that'll be a little like a text box. To get extract data from an input, you're going to need JavaScript. So it's very, very simple. Just Google input. But I would recommend that you not actually do this that way. For login, if you look at environment authentication, that's Google has an API for that. So basically, they do all the login stuff themselves.
I don't know.
So like Firebase is a lot of like cloud services. They have like databases. The UI for it. So like the input looks nice and styles like Google engineers. And then there's the and then it also handles like forgotten passwords, emails, and security. If you have logins, just storing the password is very scary for like security. So this handles that. It's Google's product now, and they have much better security than Google. Emails or like and stuff like that. It handles all of it. In the middle. Yeah, someone you can follow it. Just embed like a little widget if you're plugging. It leads them through the one this image. It's very digital single.
Do you want to really?
Yeah. In the Firebase,
Yeah.
you want to know, really complicated.
I think that's what's in the.
Yeah, we can read that. This will be actually doing the more brain notes, talk about it. It's very useful.
Okay, so.
Something.
Okay, there's. We're in all image, but on center is focused in
Functional, we would have been functional.
Okay.
Works in. Okay, cool. So I don't know, we don't center meeting, I think this will be really
Property, some property, determine element.
probably create a website that's.
So like you see body, you would do identifying bodies for because body is like parent community.
Oh,
So,
that's what you mean.
yeah.
So I can lead about like a database.
So we'll also write after and then we'll
Just use Fire.
meet your computer exams.
Kind of the template. And then for unifying. Yeah.
So that's one way to enter text to see its images. Images don't just make it. But if you want a specific image to be centered.
Our, like, the project I just showed you, we wanted to fix that. Python, and there's no backend.
Again,
Like,
you're,
oh,
it's
I
one of
know.
the parents, it's
Yeah.
kind of.
You guys found
All the services.
Instead is.
Yeah, it's just HTML and then JavaScript to interact with the Maps API, right? Like, in order to like get things from the city of Austin, and there's
So,
there's like, there's no database, there's no Flask backend, there's no signature running.
detective basically is, it means division. So you can order to make any purpose. So purpose,
Yeah.
which would divide up the content. And the purpose is
Google Maps.
And
Okay.
So like, why create a database yourself?
and then gives a div and
Other people
if you want to give it an ID, you're gonna have other divs.
But they have a REST API, and it's really accessible, so you just, you don't have how it's really long with TypeScript. Get that information. We also did it for the city of Austin data.
Yeah, ID is not supposed
To
to
learn how to use REST API.
Rest APIs are used as JavaScript for that.
Yeah, if you just want to do it in your Wix stuff, you can actually add something like in a new web page or like a new page called like with a JS extension or in just with HTML. At the bottom of the HTML. You don't bother creating a file right now. Yeah, this is up here. And then the bottom of the HTML, I think, is right after body before HTML. Add a tag that's called thread.
So now that's there, you can go to CSS.
And then inside there, I don't know what you want.
Okay.
So,
That's,
the way you interact with,
yeah, we use that
your
one.
JavaScript, the way you interact with JavaScript and HTML is you use maps. Like get elements by ID. So you give an HTML element, and then you open JavaScript and get that element.
So the div by the.
And then once you get that element, you can
wonder
feature
how
how it looks.
all of the available on the. Because like, right? So the reason I said that is because you don't have to worry about that. Whatever is available. If it's some other element, you might have to worry about. But if you give, say something.
Oh, did you manually?
Yeah.
I know you can use extensions in order to like properly modify the file, but yeah,
That's so cool.
we're going right now.
Yeah, this is just a text one, center, or code center elements, I just said it.
Profit on your site. You can see like, it's typically still on one line, if you open it in another.
But yeah, it did that.
If you wanted to like permanently work that on everyone, and like actually like make the line straight, you have to use an extension.
Okay.
I'm gonna go through the code. Oh, what's that? What is my favorite? Like, go through code at DHL.
Do you want me to scroll up or down or up? This stuff is just from the Google fonts, by the way, so you don't really need it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, also, everyone, just a heads up, we're with Girls Who Code. Girls Who Code is holding another website, a workshop tomorrow on how to make a Chrome extension, which is a really quick and easy way to use, it's just HTML, CSS again, right? Yeah, and JavaScript in order to make a Chrome extension, which is like, like a proper product that you can present at a hackathon. So it's, I think, same time, 5 to 6. Tomorrow, 5.3 H2, just exactly one floor above, and we will have boba.
Oh, wow.
I had made something, or like I'm still working on it, but I made sort of like an app, but with Python tkinter. Could you do that as like a Chrome extension, or is it like strictly HTML, CSS?
But you used an app with a Python?
Yeah, I did it with tkinter, like the GUI, just to pop up like locally on there, but I don't know if I'm able to like just take that and change it into a Chrome extension, or like make it a Chrome extension.
You could, but you have to write a code install. Right. As far as I'm aware, you can do some Googling. You can't just run Python really without a Flask server set up. You can't just run Python on the web. It has to be like through, like JavaScript is what you use to like run, to do like logic on the web. So you can probably, I'm sure you could write something pretty
Yeah,
simple.
let's like add some more stuff, right? To link it to the Chrome extension. Okay.
See if, like, I've never heard of that GUI like platform that you mentioned, so you can do a Google, see if you can. I doubt it though.
Okay.
Today, Ashley and I met to like rehearse a little bit.
Oh, okay, very nice.
I will share. I don't know why we haven't shared it yet. Share it.
Oh yeah, share the slides. Use the same QR code that we always use.
Oh,
We just
for the
copied
assignment
it,
link.
made a copy. We just made a copy.
Oh, okay, that
This
works then.
one.
Yeah, sounds good, because that's
Yeah.
where that QR code is
Mhm.
what we use for sign-in. In that case, you'll have to modify the sign-in form. I will do that.
Okay.
Because the sign-in form, I just sort of, it's the same form. I just add a little extra thing that says, what meeting did you come to? I'll add a little thing to that. I'll do that today.
Okay.
Okay.
And like while we were going, we just realized we had to be a little bit complicated. So we're giving them the template with the code, and we'll walk them through certain pages where we have explained certain components that might be a little too advanced, like background scripts and all, which work more on the back end side. But like they at the end, we're like in the break and like something like the most ridiculous for example possible, and we're like try this and
Who would not want to come to this?
so we're just worried might be a little, but then we could be able to give them an introduction.
Okay, sounds good. That's exciting. I am so excited to see what you guys have. You met up to practice and everything.
Well, we're planning on like meeting over Zoom if possible tonight and going through it again.
You're gonna do great. You don't need nearly very much
Yeah,
practice.
I think I'm coming here there at 4:30 tomorrow.
Okay,
But then-
4:30 is, all right, 4:30 is when the Boba needs to pick up, but I think just Abigail and Ananya have that covered.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll like get set up and then it's just that immediately after that at 6 I have a meeting, so I won't be able to talk everything up. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. There are enough of us. There's like 9 of us in total.
Okay.
Right then, I might have to head
No,
out
this
now
is,
as well to catch a bus.
this is
Oh, no, I have some time.
just a-
We're very excited for the hackathon.
gonna be great. I have to try to check my bias. You have a question?
So what are we to learn about the attachment of JavaScript?
I just had. You said you were familiar with REST APIs, right?
As I know what it is, I don't know.
Just Google like how to make like a GET request with JavaScript attached.
Is that the only JS I need to know?
You'll probably need a little more, but you can pick it up easily enough.
Right.
Please, got any question? You were well? Yeah. And then the responses from JSON and then I have data. And then once you have access to it, you can just HTML get element by ID.
Awesome.
Set it
Can't
to
wait.
the and that's very simple. You know,
You
just
said
look-
you
it's
needed
a
to
little
leave
more documented.
early, right, for tomorrow?
Yes, not early, like at 6. I won't be able to clean and help
Said you
clean up
did
like
modify it, so you get the-
Usually cleanup's like pretty minimal, so like you'll be fine.
Or sorry, whatever it comes down to.
Oh, like you get the data
Yeah.
and you have the data, but you don't have to display the data as is.
Oh, that's what, you can use just CSS download?
Well, you can just use HTML because the JavaScript is separate from your HTML. So you use your JavaScript to get data from a separate database. You look at the database, the data, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to print it out.
Okay, cool. And you guys have another workshop? You said you-
Fine, that's your comment.
Okay, got it.
Sounds good.
And your name was?
Varsity.
Varsity?
Yes, I will be a mentor at the hackathon too.
Okay, cool. I'll be.
Yeah.
Sahas?
Uh-huh.
Nice to meet you.
I need to not be biased.
you like drop the sharp workshop details on the
Don't push that.
channel.
Because other people have your.
Oh, for sure.
You wanna
You could probably add. Elevate comes to our meetings, the one that actually been.
Yeah. Your.
It's like you're to learn how to do the table, though,
Yeah.
rooms.
True. Dude, I thought we were gonna do that tomorrow because I have to leave in 5 minutes. Might be enough time though. Okay. Do you mind if I end the Zoom meeting? All right, thank you all for coming.
That's fine. I just came because I was like, oh, like